We go. Hey, what's going on? It's Greg Hoyt from The Breakdown, and I'm joined by the awesome Casey Benefield, aka from Better Benefield. And we're going to be talking about, let's face it, it is ostensibly the most topical matter right now in American politics, and dare I say world politics, because I think the world is watching.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it. The
about how
the
this pans out, because this is a very unique scenario with regard to American politics, and that is we have a former president who may very well get indicted and potentially, it's still up in the air, but they may potentially face jail time. How much that is, who knows? It
but
could be minuscule, it could be a lot. It really depends on what is brought forth, but all we can do right now is speculate based upon the information we have available to us. And so, Casey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for folks who may not be familiar with you?
thanks for having me on. First of all, I'm Casey Benefield, one half of Better Benefield. I have a YouTube show and a podcast with my wife, Monet Benefield. We're gonna probably cover this. We're obviously gonna stream this live, but we're also going to probably cover this because I don't even think the death of the Queen would be uh the only thing in the news cycle that'd be bigger than this. And I'm getting from a lot of people that are saying, "Hey, they're misdemeanor charges, this, that, and other." But what they're doing is they're laying the groundwork for felony charges. Like there's like you said, this has never happened before. So what they're doing is they're laying the groundwork. So when it comes time to file felony charges, they can't say, "Well, you never charged a former president with a crime."
Yeah, and the felony charges aspect, I think we can get into that because I know there's two angles where felony charges may come into play. One, and I don't want to say it like as though the felony charges are great, grandiose, or with strong standing. One has a better standing than the other, but the felony charges on the table are also not that great. If that makes any sense, you know what I
Well, I
mean?
mean, like, is there? Everyone's looking for the egregious charges. They want the corruption, the money laundering, things of that nature. And I believe that these first set of charges are just the foundation, if you will, a few bricks in the ground until they can build a house. They're the only reason that they're pushing this. And when I say they, this goes back to what we were talking about last week. So when people have this notion that in a dark, shadowy room, there's four men in expensive suits, their faces covered, and they're each on one side of the table, and they say, we got to stop this guy, and we're going to be in on a team together. This is not just a Democrat problem. This is a Republican problem. So the reason Nixon didn't go to jail is because he didn't do what 45 is doing. If he just went away, these charges would go away. If he stayed out of the light, did not threaten the Republican Party, he just did a speech at CPAC. If he just went away, the charge would go away. But because he won't go away, I'm telling you, and this is a pretty good joke, if he does not go away, he might just be hanging out like Epstein.
Yeah, no, there have been some folks that have been like, cracking jokes online, saying, Trump didn't self-delete himself. I'm trying to be a little bit more cognizant of my language outside of just what you and I discussed prior to going
Right.
on stream. But I also notice that I have to be really careful about what I say on stream on YouTube so as not to be age restricted.
Right.
Uh, and I think I mentioned to you because you recently were on your AM radio show.
Yes. The alignment of the mind.
Yes, and you guys, or one of the guests brought up a recent news story, which is
Yeah.
something that I covered on my channel, and I shared CCTV footage from that particular incident where it involved a high school student. Let's be honest, I don't know if you saw the footage of it, but it was pretty egregious. A high school student beat the brakes off of a teacher assistant. Like,
Right. And the part that was so disturbing, because I did see the videos, it was awful. Like the kid was special needs, but
yeah,
it was still really, really bad. And we covered it on Enlighten the Mind, which is the radio show that my wife and I are sitting on with the co-host Chris Gemini. That's who brought that up. The host Stacey Royale was asking, like, well, what's going on in society? Not only was that like hard to watch, what made it hard to stomach was the other adults standing by not intervening. That was kind of rough, bro.
well, yeah. When I was looking at the CCTV footage of it all, I was seeing like
Yeah.
people walking by, like how you pretend not to see the vagrant
Right.
when you're at the stoplight.
Yeah. Yeah. And you try not to lock eyes with him. You sit there, you pull up, you get caught the light, there he is, and you start looking in the glove box. You start you you check, is this thing working? You don't want to lock eyes. So I get it. They walk past her like the vagrant bum who's out here in brand new shoes asking you for $1.
Well, yeah. Well, what it disturbingly reminded me of, um, is uh, it reminded me of prison. How when folks in prison would see a physical altercation between, let's face it, two consenting adults,
Yeah, or two angry people.
yeah, that
Yeah,
wanted to duke it out,
right.
um, and the the plurality of people would just kind of turn their head because at least they knew in that setting, at least they knew that the
It's not
people
my
involved,
business.
yeah,
Right.
it's
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 not my
not their
business.
business. But like in this particular instance,
It is
it's
their business. Yeah, it was definitely their business. And they chose not to handle their business. It was like my wife brought up a lot of great points on the show, but the one thing that she hammered home was those that were watching acted like they didn't see it. And that literally sums up what your analogy is. They acted like they didn't see it, even though they know and we know they saw it.
yeah, that's unsettling.
That's
Like,
rough.
and I get it. I get it. It is somewhat intimidating to intervene in any kind of physical altercation. But I think people that genuinely have a good moral compass, they have a like like a soul
You sound
that
Let's say you see you sound like Monet. You guys see that incident going on, and you guys are saying somebody is going to break this up. And the pessimistic side of me looks at it and says, somebody's going to jump in and help this kid finish her off. Because that's where we are in the state of world of the humanity we live in now. That that is what I saw. Somebody is going to give him a weapon to go ahead and finish her off because they acted like they didn't see her, bro.
yeah.
And like I said, not only was it their business, even if you tell me that it's their business to protect the child from doing harm, that's part of the oath. And the reason things have gotten so bad in this country is because that's the mindset that people have. Is well, it's not really my bit. Is it really my responsibility to stop her? Remember when she ate those bagels and they were the last like people are making an excuse not to get involved. They will, bro. But they can justify it. You remember when Karen ate the last chocolate eclair? You remember. So maybe this is karma. This is just karma. Like she knew what she did. Like that's the mentality.
Oh man. Oh, all right. So before we get into the Trump uh looming indictment,
Okay.
Um, let's go ahead and get into the stratosphere of it, because I've noticed that, and this is really chatter that is going around in the conservative and pro-Trump, pro-DeSantis circles. People are speculating whether or not Ron DeSantis can, should, and will do something about this because Trump is in Florida. And so like yeah, before you make the face, I was one of the guys. I was one of the guys saying there's not much he can really do, because warrants are warrants, extraditions are extraditions.
I
Now,
beg to differ.
I'll push back on that because there are
Well,
some things he can do, but all he can really do is kind of slow things down.
well,
At
let me say this. Let me say this. I believe that Ron DeSantis has done plenty. What Ron DeSantis has done is eliminated the competition. I don't believe DeSantis is trying to stop this. Are you kidding me? Are you? I don't care what circles you're in or what corner you're in. Are you telling me that they picked the phone up? Yes, Mr. DeSantis, district attorney on line one. Oh, what do they want? Oh, they're asking about should they bring charges against 45. I'll take that in the conference room. That's how that went. Why would he stop this? Why? This literally, listen, and all jokes aside, you know what this would do for him? The
well,
quiet,
let's pay respects to Mr. Raymond Duncan. He gave us a nice comment. He said, "Hi guys, hey Raymond, how are you?"
pretty good, Ray. Let's say this. So now, if Ron DeSantis, because you know there's a lot of Republicans that won't come out and say it, but they want Trump to go away. They won't. They don't want him coming to their town and supporting somebody else and splitting the vote on them. So they don't say anything. But behind the scenes, there are a lot of real conservatives that want this guy gone. You don't think that they're telling and whispering in DeSantis' ear, here's your chance. Don't do like we did. Take the shot. You got to get him.
Yeah, I will say if folks like Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush had this kill shot,
Guarantee you. Listen to me. There's no way Jeb Bush. You think Baghdad was on fire? Ooh, Mar-a-Lago would glow. If he had his way, Trump would be in bracelets now.
so Raymond is proposing. Some people are saying this is a diversionary event to distract from something they are planning on Tuesday. Let me tell you something. Everything is a psyop. Everything in some way, shape, or form is
No,
meant to distract you in some
no.
way.
Listen to me.
I,
No,
I,
no. This wasn't meant to distract you. Let me tell you something. This is a distraction because this is what you can be paying attention to. A former president is going to get arrested on Tuesday. They're distracting from what? Unless there is a bomb about to go off, I am telling you right. This is the news. This will be the news right up until either there's a guilty verdict or a not guilty verdict. But then the next thing that happens is another set of charges coming. You got to know that. Listen, they're laying the ground. Gregory, you are too smart of a person
well, yeah,
to
yeah, no, no.
know.
Well, I consider myself a bright guy. I'm not, and Raymond, I do agree with you. It's outrageous. There's a lot of things that are outrageous, about the entire political landscape. And and Raymond, to your credit, will dive into the charge that is ostensibly coming forward, because it is a little bit of a silly charge. It's a misdemeanor charge that is what appears to be on the books, and there are two lateral potential felony charges. And like I said, when we get into the nuance of it, we can dissect that to see whether or not they are feasible. I already have my preconceived notions but I'll share them with my good friend Casey, aka Mr. Benefield,
I,
and we can talk about that. But
my
let's
thing is, I think you and Raymond are really like. I think you guys are missing the point. This is not about these charges. Like, we don't know what Cohen is going to say, and I know they got his bookkeeper. What I'm saying is, this is only to set precedent, because you can't drag 45 into the Southern District of New York and charge him with a corruption charge, because the first thing they're going to say is, hey, you can't charge the president. But now they're going to erase that, because whatever is happening, this is to stop him from showing up at the conservative convention. The Democrats want to run against him. They listen. If it was up to Joe Biden, who's Sleepy Joe, beat this guy. Hell, I believe if you and I had got on the ticket, we could have beat 45. So you can't get to the White House with only Republicans.
Well, yeah, and to show people how disaffected, because this is not just a Republican or a Democrat thing. Voters have been disaffected from parties, from the mainstream parties for years. And if you need any more evidence of that, look back to 2016 and the fact that 11,000 people woke up, got out of bed, ventured to a voting booth, and voted for Harambe in person.
Yeah,
They
well,
they
listen,
wrote him
you
in.
don't even have to do that.
A dead gorilla. They
Listen,
wrote 11,000 people.
I mean, but that's the same thing can be said. They voted for Kanye, and I know a guy said he wrote in Hulk Hogan. Here's what he did. He told me he wrote in Hulk Hogan. What the thing that is scary about this is, when Hillary lost, I knew a lot of people that were saying, I wish I had voted, or I wish I had voted for Hillary. And then when Trump got elected and things got bad, I heard a few people saying, I wish I hadn't voted for Trump. I wish I had voted for Hillary. Like, I know a lot of Democrats that voted for Donald Trump, a lot. They just could not stand Hillary Clinton. With that being said, I haven't heard that with the Joe Biden Donald Trump election. And I know that the conservatives are looking at this from can we win status. They don't want to have 4 more years of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They believe that the best candidates that they have to beat Joe Biden is Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. And they're going to hear first on your show that I believe, when it all comes down, that's going to be the ticket. They're going to show America, instead of showing them old Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris, which they just supported. And I don't care which way you put it on the ticket. They're going to say, well, here's the conservative, younger version of that with smaller government that's better. Meet Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. That's what the ticket is. They don't want this nut showing up at their convention and taking 1.6 million votes with him, man.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And I try to have reasonable conversations with Republicans and conservatives about the legitimate standing of Donald Trump, where as it pertains to mainstream popularity. Can he get the swing vote? Can he get the moderates?
No.
And I said there were a few key events that lost a lot of things for Trump in terms of his core base, the swing votes, and other minute segments of the regular Republican voting bloc. And it can be boiled down into, like I said, about 3 things. You had January 6th, which that really lost. It doesn't matter how much hardcore Trump supporters push back against the J6 narrative.
Yeah.
January 6th lost a lot of would-be moderates and swings, and even some prior Trump voters.
That's what I'm about to
Um,
say. It turned off. That literally unplugged. That's what I'm saying. That took the voting block down for the Republicans to now they only have the conservatives that will vote for Trump holding their nose and Trump supporters, because those that were on the fence or those that were saying, "Hey, I'm just Republican," when the January 6th insurrection happens, they were like, "I'm out of here. I don't want my name attached to that." You can't get them back. Not with
yeah,
Trump.
and that is just an indisputable fact. It did alienate people, and I get frustrated with hardcore GOPers who think it didn't alienate people. It absolutely did.
They're
Uh,
they're, they're, they're
that
just trying to
there-
fool themselves.
yeah. Um,
They tell
then,
themselves.
then there was also the ardent pushback against the outcome of the election. That turned
That
off.
didn't help either. But see,
Yeah.
listen, he's got.
But that's also something that's not as bad. It did turn off some voters. I'm not saying it's as big as like turning off J6, but then there was another thing that Trump did that really turned off voters, and it was his presentation as an ostensible monetary grifter, with him pushing the Trump superhero NFTs, which that turned off the crypto bros. I'm big in the crypto community. I'm not gonna lie, I made money off crypto shit. Uh, I have never been pro NFT. I have always been anti NFT. I've always thought that NFT was a scam, and I've
It
always
was
seen,
a scam.
yeah,
It is a scam. Yeah, NFT is the reason why I have no take on crypto.
and
But so let's look at it from a political view. With what you just said, that trims down the conservative party. So let's look at the votes that he has to win to beat Biden, because Biden has already shored up the LGBTQ vote, and Trump has completely offended them. So you lose all the homosexuals and the trans. So you don't worry about them showing up, not voting for Trump. And then you're
yeah,
screaming.
that's the homos and the trans and all that crap. What are we talking about? Like 6 million people or some shit like that?
Yeah, like the 6 million. But
Yeah.
you add that 6 million to the first 2 million you lost. And then you say this abortion, Roe v. Wade, I did that. And then you turn off 62% of the women. It's hard to get to the White House in the numbers, bro. DeSantis can get right up to the podium and lie and flip flop and say, change his stance on it, this and that, until he gets to the White House. 45 is not even smart enough to play that kind of game.
And here's the thing: like I have been divided on the Roe v. Wade overturning, and here's why. While I think the reaction to it has been funny, I think it's funny. I think it was funny because I saw hyper progressive, and when I say progressive, I'm doing quotation marks.
Okay.
Hyper progressive people that were very we got a hello from Grifty. Hey,
Grifty.
He's actually a really, really cool guy. He's all about the grift in a funny way. He's a cool guy.
So NFT.
But like, these hyper, social justice warrior type of people, the type of people that they're white women with colored hair and a nose ring type of shit. They were calling Clarence, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. They were calling him the N-word with a hard R on social media, putting up posts like the hard R, because he was just one of a handful of justices that helped overturn.
But see, listen, that doesn't surprise me.
True colors.
listen, that doesn't surprise me. If you can find a reason to tell a black person how you really feel, they never not take that shot. That's why I know that DeSantis is going to take the shot with 45. But my take on Roe v. Wade was so different than everyone else's. Roe v. Wade, because a lot of people in the black community were upset You know, it's my body, my choice, this, that, and the other. And I try to explain to them this Roe v. Wade being overturned had nothing to do with black people. This was to stop the middle class white women who were having abortions. Because if you're rich and white and you have to have an abortion, you got a private doctor. So you're not going to Planned Parenthood for that. And if you're poor and you white, you can't have an abortion. So this is about shoring up the voting block because the white vote is disappearing. Why do you think they brought all those Ukrainians in here and told all the Haitians to stay home?
Also, I will say, in some respects, like there are certain segments of the white vote that I would not lose any sleep if their vote disappeared. And this is why I have a divided position on abortion, because it just so happens that the type of people, okay, I don't want to say like in totality, but a vast majority of the people that are like celebrating their abortions and being weird about it and holding up signs saying I'm happy I got my abortion, I'm like, I'm happy too. I don't want your bloodline continuing. I
Hey,
want you to die
stop right
alone
there. Yeah,
with cats.
yeah. Hey, I get it. I get it. I believe, and my stance has always been the same. Like we did a show talking about this, like one of our early shows, and I don't believe that abortion should ever be used as contraceptives.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that
yeah. No,
that that, that
and
is
Grifty is bringing up that one character, and yeah, that was super weird. I don't know if you remember that story, Casey. It was from
yeah, yeah,
last.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh, yeah, and thank God Grifty is right on there with the proper YouTube words.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Unalive.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah,
I use old hanging out like Epstein, but you know, it is what it is. And I'm telling you,
yeah. Oh, nail on the head. They don't need kids. They have everyone else's in the education system. This is something that I've talked about, you know, with people that have been getting into education, and
uh-huh.
we've noticed this weird um, transition where educators are indoctrinating kids in this weird, you know, the alphabet community stuff.
Oh,
Let's
in
call that.
California. Did you see that high school in California where they forced the kids to watch a drag queen show put on by their peers? So as a father, when you send your son to school and your son asks you and you know you sit down and tell him, "Hey, there's a man and there's a woman, and that's what my son's going to be taught, and you're not going to be able to turn into one. It doesn't work like that. You were born that way, and that's how that is." How weird is it that he has to sit through a class that his household is 1,000% against? How could that be all right?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. Like, and I reported on that particular incident that transpired. I think it was Elk Grove High School or something like that in
Yeah,
California. Um, that was weird,
yeah.
and
It's beyond weird. Like we have to sign a permission slip to ask if our children have sex education class.
well, yeah, I remember. You remember that movie? Because you know, you and I were close in age, so we would probably remember this movie. Maybe you watched it in school. I know I did. It was a movie that had Matthew Broderick and Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington called Glory.
Glory,
And yeah, I think it was about the 51st Regiment. I think it was.
regiment. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
My
uh,
wife, listen. My mother loves that song that they sing. Oh my Lord! Right
yeah, yeah.
before Denzel, right before the last battle.
Yeah, we when I was in 7th grade, we had to sign a permission slip to watch it because I think it was PG-13. I had to sign a permission slip to watch The Outsiders when I was in 6th grade, and I think that was rated PG. Uh,
See, that's what I mean. That seems very odd to me. That something that can be one thing can be deemed educational, one can be deemed entertainment. But you're telling me that something that's not entertaining to my children and something that is not definitely not educational, that I as a parent don't have a say in that? That doesn't sound
Exactly.
right. I don't
Exactly.
understand that. That
Because
doesn't sound right.
at least Glory, that film,
This, yeah,
it
this
had
happened.
educational aspects.
Right, this happened. That's what I'm saying. One was educational. The Outsiders was entertaining. But you're telling me that that is something we have to have permission to do. But it's okay if you have the other guys at my son's high school dress up as women and perform a show that he doesn't find entertaining, nor is educational. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's absolutely nothing of entertainment
No,
or educational value. And first and furthermore,
I just
that
thought of something.
drag queen crap, it was at a multicultural day event at like, you remember I remember having multicultural events at the school where they would
Yes.
present,
Yeah.
um, it was literally just different cultures.
Yeah, it was different food. At our high school it was different. It was different food. So everybody had like a little booth. But I want to tell you something funny. Monet, what did Pierce Bronson say today? Okay, so listen. So Pierce Morgan had a trans activist on the show, and Pierce Morgan said, "Well, how do you identify as a woman?" Like he said, "Well, I want to identify as a black lesbian," and the trans person said, "No, you can't do that. That's absurd." And Pierce Morgan said, "That's absurd." He said, well, "What do you define a species?" He says, "A man or woman." He said, "See right there, you just contradicted yourself." He said right there out of the gate, you just contradicted yourself. You literally said there's only two. That's what you said. You just contradicted yourself. That was hilarious to me. I laughed
Well
all day at work.
well, so let me get back to, because obviously we wanna talk about Trump stuff
Yeah, let's
and
get
Trump
let's get
parties,
back to
but,
it.
we'll circle back to, the DeSantis stuff, because there's some people saying like, "Oh, DeSantis can do this, that, and the other thing," and so,
Actually, you can't.
he can kind of, sort of, in a sense, in a legal sense, like he can stall things to a degree.
Let me
Uh,
tell you something, because you're forgetting something. DeSantis, all jokes aside, has to run as far away from this as he can, because anything that he says or tries to say will be looked at because of the Andrew Gilliam situation.
oh
Remember
god.
they, yeah, yeah, you forgot about that, huh?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
he
no,
can't say anything.
I reported on the Gilliam thing, and I remember I got so much pushback, because I was one of the few reporters. This was back when I was with Law Enforcement Today,
Uh huh.
and I was one of the few reporters that put stuff on Front Street, like with respect to the guy that Gilliam was caught with, which was like a legit 100% male escort with like booty pics on his Instagram and on and I even showed some pictures on my article. I remember at the time I showed some pictures, and there were some people coming at me like, "That's messed up. That's his private life." I'm like, dude, he the the paramedics showed up. They practically had to revive dude from an OD, ostensibly from maybe some crack, maybe some ecstasy. We don't know. Uh, and he was in there with like a butt naked dude who happened to be a male prostitute. I mean,
Oh, I was actually talking about DeSantis' role and the the payoffs. Since you brought up the butt stuff, it is what it is. All I can tell you is that DeSantis has to be very careful because he's already been accused of rigging elections and moving things around in Florida. He's
yeah,
not going to be able to, not gonna be able to
yeah,
do anything.
and so what DeSantis could do, he could say this is bad. He could say this is wrong, and
Right.
he could stall things. And so I don't know if are you familiar with Mike Cernovich?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So him and I, we kind of know each other, and we had a little bit of a exchange today because he was one of the people saying that DeSantis needs to do something Uh, and so today he was among those saying like, "Hey, you know, DeSantis has zero shot of the primary if he mishandles this unjust persecution of Trump by a Soros DA. As a D simp, I'd tell him to not bother running, enjoy his time as governor, lead the way on the big issues, and avoid the blood. I'm guessing he meant bloodbath of a doomed primary. This is his first test, and he's giving the second scenario, the decent thing, if he doesn't do anything about the Trump thing. And so what I tell him is I told him, I said, "Hey, while I know all eyes are on DeSantis about the looming Trump indictment, there isn't much
Thank you.
DeSantis could do in the face of an extradition, short of slowing the process for a bit via perhaps committees, committee review, or other small delays. It might buy a month or two at best." All right.
See, that's
Oh,
listen. First of all, I disagree with Kavanaugh. Like, there's no way this is gonna hurt DeSantis in the primary.
yeah,
It's
yeah. No,
not there.
I would somewhat disagree with that too because there is a lot of stuff that is still up in the air right now.
Right.
uh, with regard to the ardentness of the Trump base. So Cernovich told me he says, "Hey, good, then he should." So he's saying, "Hey, yeah, stall it." But also, like, keep in mind, like, a stall is just a stall. It prevents the inevitable. It's like, when he got James Bond being strapped up, and the
And then he tells him the whole plan. This is how I'm gonna blow up the moon.
yeah, and
Okay.
I told him, I said, "That's fine in my book, but it's still important for people to walk away from this conundrum with realistic expectations." Let's face it, Bragg has had a stiffy for Trump for some time, and the pettiness over pursuing a misdemeanor clerical offense shows how ridiculous Bragg is. Now, this is
See,
something I know where you and I may disagree. Because I think the charge that is being pursued is petty, but you suspect that this is really just more so groundwork
that's
to
it.
get something bigger.
That's listen. It's not even to get something bigger. See, I believe that they have something bigger now, but there is no precedent of arresting a president. So you don't want to file those charges, and then you can't arrest him.
Yeah, so Grifty, and I will say this. I'll say this with absolute love. Because I'm a good buddy of his. He's a friend of mine. He's saying that they can deny extradition. I need to address that because uh DeSantis's
Mhm.
role between the agreements and the federal statutes, but also, between Florida law, New York law, DeSantis's role in an extradition is very ministerial. He can just look at the paperwork and he can sign it off. He can delay it by having it reviewed by a committee, but it really boils down to once Hochul, governor of New York, signs it off and gets it sent to DeSantis. DeSantis can hold on to it, for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, 3 weeks maybe, and pass it off to a committee. He might be able to buy a month or two, but if he stalls it for too long, and even goes so far as to say like, "Hey, I'm not going to honor this extradition," all Hochul or Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, all they need to do is that they just need to go to a court in New York, and they can just get the extradition, and therefore have it bypassed.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Listen, see, you got what you guys are naming is actually worse. So let's say for the sake of argument that DeSantis delays this for 2 weeks, and
yeah,
then
and Grifty, you are absolutely right. Yes, Florida police can absolutely refuse to arrest. Sheriffs can refuse to arrest, but that would take like a monumental collaboration. Because I assure you, uh, there's probably some police officers or sheriff's deputies that probably don't like Trump.
Not only that,
Yeah,
listen,
it is what it is.
listen.
We gotta be realistic.
Yeah, because listen, you don't want this to drag in the news cycle for 3 weeks. You don't. DeSantis does not want a bunch of reporters outside his office every day asking, "What is he going to do about the extradition request made by New York?" He doesn't want to do that. That's number one. Number two, they would just bypass him, and then if they're this petty with this charge, they'll send a SWAT team to get it. So it'll really look bad. It no, I'm
SWAT,
just really,
SWAT team at Mar-a-Lago.
yeah. Do you really want that? Do you want a SWAT team trampling over the back nine at Mar-a-Lago? Is that where it's because that's what it's going to come down to?
Yeah, no, we can't have them stomping on the grass so much because I still want to go to Mar. That looks like a beautiful golf course. All right,
It does. It does. I would never play there. And last but not least,
Casey, come on.
I would never play there. I'll never play there.
I've played it like places like the Wigwam and stuff like that, and those are great golf courses, man. And listen, I'm gonna be honest, I suck at golf. I've hung out with people that are great at golf, and they've invited me, and I'm like, oh, God bless it, man. You brought the convict. That's amazing. And I pretend like I'm good. I'm not.
Well, that's the thing. I'm decent. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm decent. The problem is I lift my head when I swing, and a lot of times I end up in the rough. But for the most part, if I get it on the green, I'm good. I'm good in the fairway, and I'm really good with a putter. And I didn't know I was putting left-handed, so when I first started playing, I just take my mom's sand wedge and turn around and hit it backwards. Like I can really play. But do you think DeSantis wants Trump stuck in Florida campaigning?
Yeah,
Because he couldn't leave.
I don't think he does.
That's what I'm saying. He can't leave Florida.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Think DeSantis wants that?
DeSantis is being somewhat clever insofar that he's not saying it like DeSantis. Like you can't find a snippet of him saying I'm running for president. You can't find it. You have a lot of people speculating, and that's the thing. He's keeping. I think he's keeping his options open. But I at this point I can't say with any certainty whether he's going to run for 2024. He's
running. He's running.
It's a high possibility.
If he's not running, that means your whole party's gonna get behind Nikki Haley, and I don't see that.
Yeah,
you guys got nobody else.
Nikki Haley is the equivalent of like, and I don't want to talk shit about Nikki Haley like to seem like she's a terrible person, but I think she has the popularity level commensurate to what Kamala Harris had primary wise in the Democratic Party.
Sounds about right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The ticket makes sense. The DeSantis Haley ticket makes sense. That ticket going up against Kamala Harris and Joe Biden makes sense. I don't even know who would run with 45. It would literally be if he almost.
So, Grifty is saying it'll be Trump. Period.
Who's the vice president?
That's a good question.
Who's running with Trump? He tried to have Pence killed or unalived. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't say the K word.
He tried to have
the K word, and we can't say the J word.
Yeah, he tried to have Mike Pence unalived. Are you kidding me? Who's gonna run with this dude? Grifty, you? Grifty, you want to be vice? You want to be VP? Nobody's running with this nut job. Put a hit out on the VP. They said, "Sir, Pence is there." His answer, "Good." Good.
Grifty, he seems to be okay with running along the show.
I hear it.
But I have nothing against folks that want to see Trump the nominee. I'm all for folks.
Me too. Me too. You can't win.
Different perspectives, but let's there's not a lot to talk about the looming charge, because there isn't much information that we have, but I'll share what I've gathered, and I've poured over information all today. So, and it's sad because it can be summed up in about like 3 paragraphs about the Trump conundrum. Let's call it that. The Trump conundrum. All right. Um, so Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg is reportedly preparing to indict Trump on charges related to indirectly sending hush money to Stormy Daniels back in
Yes.
2016 so
Yes.
as to incentivize her to keep quiet about an alleged affair that happened, a decade or so back.
Right.
Uh, and in 2018, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to paying Daniels 130K, which the Trump organization reportedly reimbursed Cohen the aforesaid money
Hmm.
around the same time of the payout. So, in short, DA Bragg appears to be gearing up for a charge pertaining to Trump falsifying business records so as to list the 130K reimbursement from years back as being a legal expense. So, in New York, the mislabeling or misattribution of expenditures in tax filings, it's a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor. It's small potatoes. For those that don't know the difference between felony and misdemeanor, the easiest way to explain it is one has the propensity for a year plus in prison, the other has the propensity for less than a year or some alternative. Um,
Probation, house arrest, all that. I get
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so once
What
again,
happens because what you guys, you and Grip, what you guys are forgetting, they have those tax records. And I believe that there is going to be something tied to a tax invasion or a corruption charge that are going to be felonies. This is just the groundwork. We
yeah,
don't know what they
so
found in those tax records.
yeah, Grifty is making mention it's not illegal to pay someone for silence unless it's in a legal matter. And actually, yeah, you can pay some for silence in a legal matter or civil matter. Um,
Yeah, that's what an
the
MDA is.
yeah, the alleged illegality in this case is Trump not properly filing it, and whether or not Trump signed it off at the Trump organization. So the Trump organization labeled this 130K that went to Michael Cohen that allegedly reimbursed him the 130K he gave to Stormy Daniels. Um, it was rifled off as a legal expense.
Right,
And so that is a violation of New York law. New
right.
York state law says you cannot mislabel your expenditures when it comes, because when you file your taxes, this is the thing. People think tax filing only gets them in Fed trouble. It gets you into state trouble potentially too, because when you file your taxes, you're filing for the state
And
and the
for the
federal.
feds. Exactly.
Yeah. So each and every state can have their own respective state tax
Yeah,
law.
because every state has their own constitution, of course.
Yeah, yeah, and so, but once again, we're talking about a misdemeanor thing. All right, so as mentioned earlier, uh, violating that law can result in a misdemeanor charge. So, like on the worst of the worst days, you meet the worst judge, you're a shithead defendant. They can sentence you to, I don't know, 363 days in jail if they really want to be a jerk on the bench. Um, Now, at the same time, that charge can be raised to a felony if the misstatement on the filing is done to cover up another crime. Now,
So,
this is something where I don't believe they have a felony escalation charge, because covering up an affair isn't a crime. It's not a crime. That was one of the two things they people are talking about, saying
But
like,
that's
"Oh,
not. But that doesn't mean that It doesn't mean that the affair is the crime that was covered. Like that they didn't even have to tell us about Stormy Daniels. So let's say that he gave Michael Cohen $100,000 and he mislabeled it. Let's just take the Stormy Daniels thing, doesn't matter. He mislabeled it, and they're saying we have proof that he mislabeled it because of his tax record. And we're charging him with a misdemeanor crime. Now, if we can prove that this misdemeanor crime covered up a felony, then we're also going to charge him with a felony charge later. They have to charge him with the misdemeanor first to set the precedent. And I'm telling you, it's not going to have anything to do with his sexual affair with Stormy Daniels.
yeah, but
It's going to be something else.
yeah, but I'm trying to find what the conduit would be. What the conduit would be because
What if the film company that she was involved in was involved in some type of tax evasion or selling women or anything
well,
anything.
that's yeah, that's circumstantial.
It's circumstantial on the face, but if they can prove that that's what let's say Stormy Daniels was blackmailing him from the gate. Let's say this wasn't about hush money. Let's say she was blackmailing him because he was involved in something else that we don't know about yet. They still have to show that they can charge him, and by showing they can charge him, they can raise it up to a felony, bro. That's what I'm saying. Because we know having an affair is not a felony, and they're they're not gonna go into court and say, "Hey, listen, he cheated on his wife, and we want him to go to prison." There has to be more. There's more to this than the Stormy Daniels affair, because that is the only thing that makes sense. Having an affair is not a felony.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not sold. And this is one of the things. Like, have you heard of the term copium? You
No.
know, copium. It's like a play on coping and hope and opium. It's like a combination of all three. All right, and when somebody is inhaling copium, they are trying to cope with the circumstances and get a big whiff, like inhale uh something to get them high on what they think will happen. And I try to approach things from a realistic perspective. I'm partisan, like in many respects. I have my political views. I have no issue identifying myself as far right if people ask me. Uh, but I think truth and realistic outcomes and realistic expectations are important. And so what I think is I don't uh uh I don't abstain from the idea that Trump is facing a misdemeanor charge. I think he's probably going to get charged with it. He could very well be found guilty of the misdemeanor. Is it a petty misdemeanor? Sure. Um, as for the conduit to a felony based on this charge alone, I'm not talking about anything else that may crop up in the future. This charge alone leading to a felony based upon the two methods that the Manhattan DA may take it, I'm not sold on it. So the first one is the one we already discussed about how if this crime was meant to cover up another crime, then it becomes a felony. Until it can be effectively articulated on what it is, I'm like, okay, I'm not sold on it. The other thing is there is chatter. Now, once again, I don't want to put words in the Manhattan DA's mouth because he hasn't talked about this yet. He's been quiet. But there is chatter. The Manhattan DA is toying with charging Trump for a campaign finance violation over the payment. Um, and that's just highly unlikely. I know some pundits have talked about it, and there's like three things that just completely knock it out of the water. Number one, the alleged affair was over 10 years ago. the funds came out of the Trump organization, which like completely takes it out of the campaign finance violation ballpark. And even if you disregarded that, the payment had nothing to do with the campaign. Even if it indirectly aided his campaign by him, handling a nuisance out of court settlement payment so far as to protect his reputation, because he had a reputation but prior to running for office, and he has a reputation thereafter. So for the folks saying like, oh, well, it could be a campaign finance violation, that is like a severe case of copium. Like that's not going to happen. There's a reason why the Department of Justice didn't do that, because I assure you there are records to reflect that the DOJ looked at campaign finance violations, and once the term Trump organization came up, they said no, we can't do campaign finance violation.
Okay, so let me say this, because like law isn't finite. It's like medicine. You practice it. So what happens is somebody reads a case law and then says, this case law applies to so and so doing this. And if I get this in front of the right judge, I can make that case. My whole thing is, I understand what you're saying as far as the finance or the campaign finance violation goes. But I don't know enough right now to speak concrete to it, because A, the DA hasn't said anything, but B, I don't know what else they know.
Yeah,
They're
no,
only
they could have
that's
this treasure trove of stuff
yeah, I
that
don't know what
we
else they know.
yeah.
I firmly, the only thing I can tell you is that there has to be a reason why that they're coming for an ex president with a misdemeanor.
Yeah, so
They
Pyramid 7, brings up, and it's funny, she or he, I don't know if it's a man or a woman. They say legal expenses. And the irony is that is where this looming charges is coming from to begin with, is purportedly the Manhattan DA is going after Trump for claiming this hush money was a legal expense. I mean, it's it's this is a difficult to dissect case, largely because the Manhattan DA hasn't said anything. We've had leaks come out
are
of the
you
office.
familiar? Are you familiar with the term intent to distribute?
Oh yeah, that comes when you bag up the dope, but you haven't sold it yet.
No, no, no. Okay, so yeah, that was the original charge. But
Yeah.
let me tell you how the legal system got in front of a judge, tweaked it, and said something else. So I call you. I say, "Hey, Gregory, can I get a couple keys of cocaine?" You say, "Hold on, let me see." You then call me back and say, "Hey, my guy is out." That's a felony. Neither one of us got any cocaine, but the fact that you tried to get it, that's a felony. Now, that wasn't a felony in the 90s, but it's a felony now.
Uh,
So because of
are
the
we talking like 94 crime bill stuff?
exactly that right around there, because the intent to distribute is, even if I say, hey, when you ask me, can I get it? If my answer is not no, I don't deal in drugs. If I say, let me see, let me make a call, that is now the underlying charge. And there are people that have faced RICO acts because of this.
Yeah, so I can't tell if Pyramid 7 is affirming that he is a man, or he's just
Oh,
saying,
Jay said I'm a dude.
yeah, okay. My apologies. Uh oh, oh goodness gracious. We may have uh hold on. Let me see. Somebody wants to join us. Are you okay with that, Casey?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Hold on. Let me go ahead and get this going. Somebody wants to get in on the mix, and you want something? I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Uh,
I hope it's
and
Eric Trump. That'd be great.
yeah, no. It is an individual who is curious to get in on the conversation. And you want something? I'm all for it. I want dissenting viewpoints because I know I sometimes piss off conservatives at times because I just try to approach things from as logical of a perspective that I can. And even you, Casey.
So listen,
Even
that's my middle name, Mr. Feather Ruffler.
well, even you give me even give me hell sometimes.
I mean,
Uh,
it's when you like because you're saying right now that, and you're just too smart of a guy to believe that these people are wasting their time and are going to look stupid in the end by charging this man with a misdemeanor. There is definitely more to this. There's definitely more to this. I promise. There's
yeah,
no
no,
way this isn't the end of it.
yeah, I don't,
With
I
the
don't,
pie in the sky, we hope we can get a felony charge.
yeah,
No.
I don't know if this particular case, this wedge with respect to the Stormy Daniels stuff, I don't know if that is the immediate segue into a felony charge. But it could very well be just to set the, as you said, the precedent
You have
of,
to.
one state charges them with this,
They can charge
another
anything. You know how
charge.
hard it is to come into court and say you can't charge an ex-president with murder, and then the response would be, Your Honor, this same president was charged with a misdemeanor. That makes sense. That makes sense. And like I said, everything that they got from Michael Cohen that we think they had when he went to prison. He came out and wrote a book. He talked to anybody he wanted to talk to. But now he just went in front of a grand jury. We don't know what else. When you cut the throat of people that you hid the bodies with, you're always in trouble, man.
Yeah, yeah, and Cohen, as far as we know, we do know that once he got out of the clink, I love that term. It's so funny. Like apparently, like I didn't know that during my time of incarceration. I didn't know it was a word. Uh, I didn't realize it until while I was in there and
Yeah.
watching an episode of The Office where Steve. You remember that episode of The Office where Steve Carell put on the purple bandana
Yes.
and he's like, "I'm Prison Mike."
Yes. Yes. It's
Just
my
got out
guy.
the clink.
The clink. Isn't that because they used to take the cup and run it against the bars?
I'm not familiar with the origin of
Yeah, I think it's because the cup would clink on the bars. I'm not being. I'm dead. I'm telling you the truth. Like
that,
that's where the term. Like if you look at all the old black and white movies and they're trying to get the attention of the guard, they're taking the aluminum cup and they're running it across the bars. Clink 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 clink. clink. Hey, turnkey. Like that's what they do, man.
oh, what
Hey, screw.
you remember that old prison movie? It was a comedy. It had Gene Wilder and
Yes,
Richard
busting
Pryor.
loose.
Oh no, not Bustin' Loose, even though that's a good one.
Stir crazy.
Stir Crazy.
Stir crazy. Yeah. Oh, CB8. Clink. So who's joining? Where's the person joining? What happened?
Well, the individual told me to give him 5 minutes. He's setting up his computer. I think he's
Okay.
working. I think he's working on dial-up internet.
Wow.
I'm, I'm joking. I hope he didn't hear that.
Yeah, he heard that. If he does, I'm gonna tell him when he comes on.
No, what was it? I remember I was well. You've done stand-up comedy before, so
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever engaged in crowd work and that it's a little bit of a it's a craft that you got to deal with because you got to figure out who you can pick on
Right.
and when you can pick on them. But
Facts.
it's easier when somebody tries to heckle you. And I remember
Exactly.
I was doing this one show at the Comedy Spot in Scottsdale, Arizona, and there was this guy heckling me, and he had just he had the George Costanza. You know what I mean? He had that
Yes.
going on,
The
and,
full
and he was
baloney.
and he was trying to let the sides of the hair in the back of the head grow. And I told him, I said, "Good Lord, dude, you got a 56K modem on top of your head. Your hairline is loading right now."
Wow. Well, listen. So I did tell you how my set at Laugh Laugh started. I didn't know that the comedians that go on stage pick numbers, this, that, and other. And it just so happened I got number 9. And there was a guy that got number 3, and he was like, "How's this guy going number 9? He's never done anything. I just left a club. I was just performing." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And then they was like, "Well, here you can go with 8th. That's fine." I don't know why he's going 9. He's never done anything. So long story short, so story long. This dude got up there and told a stinker of a joke for like 15 minutes. It's the worst joke I ever heard in my life. And it immediately erased all the nerves back, because as soon as I grabbed the mic, the first thing I said to the crowd was, "Well, this may be my first time, but there's no way I can be as bad as that guy. There's no way." There's no way. There's no way I can do worse than that. If I just sat here with chicken cross the road jokes, I'm gonna beat this dude. There's no way
Well,
I
no,
can be that bad.
that is one of the good things about when you're doing like any type of open mic or anything like that, and you've got some person that went on before you that just did horribly,
Horrible.
and you can just make an entire set
About that.
making fun of them.
Yeah. I'm telling you,
And
the first joke I told that night was, "Well, there's no way I can be as bad as him."
all
And
right, here we go. We have a guest. Say hello to
God.
Grifty.
Hey,
hey, Grifty.
hey, what's up, Greg? What's up? What is Benefield? Better Benefield? How you doing?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
I'm good. How about you? You call me Casey.
I'm good. Casey. All right, I'm Pat. So couple things. One, you guys can rib me as much as you want. I'm cool with it. Two, Greg, you are not the person to be talking about people's slow internet. We remember where your internet was before Papa Elon hooked you up.
Oh, all right. So yeah. So
Elon.
he did hear my 56K modem joke. All right.
Yes.
Oh, I heard it. I heard it.
Yeah.
So-
Casey. In case you didn't know, I was dealing prior to having the Starlink, which raised the roof. Thank you, Elon Musk, for helping us out in the rural community, because the internet connection that I had,
The African American.
oh God, it was so bad, Casey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just another thing in history that African Americans can take credit for. We helped you there. So
So I wanted to hop on here. Like, so you guys really think this arrest is a bad thing for Trump? Like,
I think it's the worst thing ever.
It's
I think, listen,
I think it's a 50-50 thing. I think it will inflame his base. And I think it will, I don't think it's going to turn anybody off, so to speak. Like, people who didn't like Trump already, this arrest I don't think it's going to recruit any more people who are who would be against Trump, if that makes any sense. Like, people who are pro-Trump already, I don't think they're going to be against him at this point. I don't think he's losing any more followers.
But the reason I believe it's a bad thing for him is because one thing you just said is going to ignite his base. And the last time his base got ignited was January 6th. So I would not be surprised if you start having protests that may turn violent. That this is a bad thing for him, because all they had to do was tell you Hillary had some emails in Benghazi, and people were literally saying, "I'm not voting for her because of the emails." They didn't know what the emails had. They didn't know what the emails were about. They just knew the emails was linked to a possible charge. That's all they knew. This is different than that. He's actually going to be charged with something. So the Republicans that's already left, they're gonna say, see, that's just why I couldn't deal with this guy. I'm glad he's going to vote for DeSantis. That's gonna happen.
See, I think it's quite the opposite. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing it. People, the whole Daily Wire crew, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan, all of them, as soon as this news broke on Friday, all of them were like, no, you can't arrest Trump. This is bullshit. It's a witch hunt. The feds have already refused to prosecute this exact charge. The feds have already investigated it, dug into it, and refused to prosecute it because there.
For the sake of context, though, and yes, Grifty, you are 100% correct. The feds refused to prosecute it. However, the caveat stop with that is when the DOJ refused to prosecute, this was back in 2018 when they had the propensity to ostensibly do it, but they didn't because of the stop, the stop that is associated with you cannot charge a sitting president.
That's what I was about to say. That's what stopped the DOJ.
But also at the same time, the DOJ didn't prosecute it because the DOJ went through something similar to this that is within their purview, which is the alleged campaign finance violation stuff. That's what they could touch. The feds didn't necessarily have anything about mislabeling something because the misattribution on the filing could ostensibly be explained away on grounds of, oh, I thought it was illegal filing because it was meant to prevent litigation. You know what I mean?
But listen, you guys,
DOJ wanted to be hands off from it because.
But don't forget when the DOJ refused to prosecute this, Michael Cohen was still going through with the whole "I'm pleading the fifth." Michael Cohen hadn't told on him. The DOJ did not have the same evidence that Manhattan DA has now.
Yeah, because Michael Cohen did absolutely tattle because, or okay, I don't want to say he tattled, but he did snitch because he handed over.
He's a snitch. He's
right. Oh no, listen. He is what he is. But one thing that I tell people, you never hear them call a snitch. They hear them call him a stool pigeon, a rat, a snitch. They don't call him a liar. So the fact that Michael Cohen, you don't call it because of. Go ahead, Grifty.
Nothing he can say is admissible.
That's not true.
Privilege.
No, sir.
Attorney-client privilege. All right, gosh, it is such a convoluted thing.
Because if it applies with your client being arrested for a charge that you're involved in, there is no more privilege.
Yeah, it's so.
He's
weird.
a co-conspirator.
Yeah,
he has to be indicted as a co-conspirator.
No, he doesn't.
He was already indicted.
He was already indicted.
Yeah, he was already
not
indicted
for this
charge. Absolutely
not for this. No, he was indicted. He was indicted under FARA as not registering as a foreign lobbyist.
Yeah.
That's what Cohen went to jail for. He did not go to jail for anything involving Trump or anything.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that Michael Cohen just sat in front of that grand jury and said, I can't tell you anything because of attorney-client privilege? Or do you think he told on his man?
Oh, I think he probably ran his mouth.
Okay.
But that's just the grand jury. I think they're going to indict him.
Listen.
I 100% think the indictment's coming. I think the indictment's coming. I think the arrest is coming.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the one sure thing that's going to guarantee Trump wins in 2024, though.
Well, let me provide some insight into what the arrest and indictment would look like, because I know there are some people that have visions of grandeur that Trump's going to be let up in handcuffs, and this is
Rikers Island.
Yeah,
ain't happening.
Yeah, this is how it's going to play. It's number one. It's going to start out as a misdemeanor charge. He's going to go to a courthouse. It will not be in cuffs, and he'll get fingerprinted. He will go before a judge, and he will walk out a free man within about 3 hours because they're going to release him on his own recognizance. So
it's New York. There's no cash bail.
Yeah, for all the folks
that people out for robbing banks in an hour.
That is absolutely 100% correct. You are Johnny on the spot. You are on the money with that. He will walk in, walk out, and that will be that. Now, if some other entity, whether Manhattan, the Manhattan DA has a trick up his sleeve, maybe he has some felony charge that we don't know about. Like I said, because the DA, Bragg, Alvin Bragg is being, he's got his lips sealed on this stuff.
So let me ask you, gentlemen, this because Pat, because listen, you both seem like you both seem very intelligent because you guys are saying things that makes a whole lot of sense, but I don't think you guys are looking at it from a panoramic view and looking at the other side of the coin. So let me say this: if everything you just said is true, and we know these are facts, we're not arguing about opinions. New York is a no cash state, so there's no bail. He's going to walk out. We know this for a fact. For a fact. We know that bank robbers walk out within an hour. So we know that a misdemeanor charge is just going to be him getting fingerprinted, them running an NCIC to make sure he has no warrants nowhere else, and then he's going to walk out in seconds. We know that.
And hold the most fire press conference ever.
Okay. Let's give props to the Vagabond Life, say even felony charges people.
Yeah, exactly. So we all agree on that. You guys don't think for 1 second that with New York being a blue state and it being this close to an election year, you don't think that not one liberal or one Democrat would be in the DA's ear and saying, hey, don't do this. This is political suicide. Or do you believe that the true powers of be are like, hey, we got to take this shot because this is what's coming down the pipe after these charges? Because I refuse to believe that all four of us are sitting here and agreeing that this man's going to get arrested. He's not going to do any jail time. He's not going to stay in jail for anything. He's not going to get a bond. He's going to walk in, be charged, and walk out. We all agree on that. Right. Don't you believe that if they're willing to do this, that they have to have something else coming? That's the only thing that makes. What's the purpose of this?
Yeah, no.
If this is all it is, then Pat is right.
To further themselves in leftist politics.
But how would that do that?
Because it's not career suicide in New York.
No, it would be, because you know what you just said? He's going to come out. Okay, no, listen. You just said he's going to come out and have a fire press conference. And you said that this would be the reason to put him in 2024. Don't you think it would be career suicide as a blue card carrier in New York that you're the reason that he got reelected?
No.
Oh, no, come on. Come on, Griffey.
Hold on. No, I'll tell you. Give me 2 seconds to tell you why.
Okay.
Because no one on the left is going to blame
you guys are being amicable.
Dude, look, I'm a big boy. I got my big boy pants on today. I love a heated discussion. This is how problems get solved. This is how we get the answers. So there's nothing personal here. It's nothing but love here.
No, all love. We speaking facts.
Yeah. So no, because this is why the leftist mentality will not blame the district attorney. The leftist mentality will blame the bigoted, racist Trump base, just like they did in 2016.
Well, I
They're gonna blame the voter, not
just blame Trump again. I think they would be like,
they're not gonna blame their prize DA, who was the only person.
If he gets off scot-free, the base probably won't blame Democratic leadership.
I think they'll convict him.
Yeah, they probably go after Trump. Like Casey, you remember Dastardly from the Wacky Races? You know,
I'm just my whole point is they blamed a DA for Hillary's loss, and they cried for 4 years saying that there's an unwritten code. You're not even supposed to say that before an election. They blamed a DA for Hillary.
The FBI director.
They blamed a DA for Hillary's loss. They did that. They said, had he not had the ambiguity going to the microphone and making it seem like, there are going to be charges coming down the pipe for Hillary, that she would have won the election.
But that's not what happened. But that's not what happened.
Can we share?
Hey, what's up, Daniel?
Can we share a laugh over Daniel saying that he thinks Pelosi's jugs would have stopped?
No, so but that's not what happened though. It
Daniel,
wasn't. It wasn't.
all right, Daniel. Listen, first and foremost, Pelosi's jugs. All right, good lord, the milk is spoiled. The milk is no good.
That's
Eggs,
the Dave Chappelle show. The milk's gone bad.
yeah, dude, those things are filled
Oddities.
with attic dust. It's like powdered horchata in there.
And
Horchata.
mothballs. And mothballs.
It's curdled. It's just butter.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. It's all butter. I just don't
So-
see everything you're saying. The press conference is going to be fire. They're going to see people using that word. It was a witch hunt. All that's going to happen. I don't know how not one Democrat or liberal has thought like you and said, hey, don't do this. This is going to backfire. I believe that there are more people saying, you got him. This is what we're going to do. And once you charge him with that, we're going to charge him with this. That sounds more feasible than not believing that this is going to energize the Republican Party. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, but if they thought like me, they wouldn't be a Democrat or a liberal.
I don't know what that means. But
Well, no,
Because-
I get what you mean, Grifty. And
does that mean
they-
is that because I'm the only one without my hat to the back? Is that what that means?
No.
Baby,
No.
bring me a hat.
You can think not like me and still not be a liberal. That's fine.
Monet,
I'm
bring me a hat, please,
A lot of conservatives don't agree.
so I can put it on, so I can look like Grifty and Hoyt. Bring me a hat.
So, but if
well,
you
you need your
thought
glasses
like
too.
me,
My brother in
But,
Christ,
yeah.
you need your glasses.
Let me see. Hold on. I'll be right back.
all right. Nah, so what I'm thinking, Greg, this is where I'm coming from. The left is going to hold this DA up as like a hero, the first person.
Oh,
to
yeah,
hook the
yeah.
brakes
They're
on
going.
Trump.
They're going to Michael Avenatti him. Don't you?
Exactly.
That better. That better. There we go. Get that in there.
There it is.
Yeah. So-
nice.
So
Yeah.
now I know politics. Look at me. Look at me. I know politics now. That's all that was missing. That was it. I put on my glasses and my hat, and now I know politics. Look at me.
Yeah. See,
hey.
no,
Casey,
I
all right.
think-
In my defense, you remember I knew politics even as a young man. Even
Yes.
as a young man, I knew it because I remember you made fun of me. You made fun of me for getting that Bill O'Reilly book, Pinheads and Patriots, back in
Yes. Yes.
2010.
You didn't know anything then, and I was trying to help you, and here I am now, 13 years later, on the same path. And the only difference is you brought Grifty with you. I gotta double my workload.
hey, we just
So now I gotta double my workload to get this thing back on track, man. The man's going to jail, and you guys need to understand this, Grifty. It's going to be a sad. Okay, so in our politics, a man can run for office from a jail cell.
correct. It's happened
Okay.
before.
Okay, it's happened before. So you gotta know that a country that we live in, like I said last time I was on the show, if they saw us doing what we're doing to another country, they intervene. You gotta know there's an end game, and it's not having 45 walk out of Manhattan with a misdemeanor charge. There's got to be more.
They're gonna try to bump it up to a felony. I don't think you're wrong that they're gonna try. I just think it's bullshit, and I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
And I think-
and to answer
and I think-
Daniel, yes, Avenatti
Yes,
is still in jail. He's in jail for a very long time. He's
yes, for blackmailing Reebok, I think.
you know,
Yes.
he had about 3 or 4 cases, and I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
got convicted on about 2 of them, and I think he's got like 2 left. He's
Yeah.
Well, he's got his last sentence. The reason he's in it so long, his last sentence is running wire. So they
Right.
stacked the charges on him.
Yeah.
So he hasn't even gotten to his last sentence yet.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and it's so funny because with respect to Avenatti, hats off to the folks over in 4chan, the old school betards. Avenatti got tricked by 4chan. No, it was about like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
Good old phishing scam.
Yeah, they tricked him into finding like some, SA victim, and and he took this individual's word for gold, an anonymous person, and he brought these accusations to MSNBC, and then the individual, the 4chaner, just put up like an audio clip or something to that effect, just cracking jokes saying, "Yeah, I just made this crap up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, MSNBC said Avenatti was going to be running against Trump in 2020. So that was
Well,
the
that
front
didn't
runner.
happen.
That was the front runner. He was gonna be the Trump slayer. No, but look, let me try to lay the case out on why this is going to help Trump. Why did Trump win in 2016?
Because
Base level, like what is your opinion?
okay, I have a real answer for that. The reason that Hillary Clinton lost, I don't want to say that 45 won. I would say Hillary Clinton lost was because, first of all, the misogynistic ways of the Democratic Party was not going to get behind her. Like, not that woman. They hated her. Not only did the black community hated her for what her husband had done. Like, they hated him. That was number one. Rightfully so. Like, they hated Hillary Clinton. But Donna Brazile and Hillary Clinton did in Bernie Sanders. The Democrats wanted Bernie Sanders in office. They were terrified of an independent. They started throwing around the word socialist, and that was the end of that. So Hillary Clinton didn't listen to anybody that had the job before her. Her husband said, "Hey, you got to go to Michigan." Barack Obama said, "Hey, you got to go to Michigan. You got to go to Ohio. You got to let these people know that you are for the blue collar worker." Hillary Clinton did something that no president will ever do again. She lost the majority of the black vote, and she lost the blue collar vote. How bad could it be?
She got like almost 70% of the black vote.
Listen, that's the so when I say she lost the black vote, the 60% that you say that she got, let's say she get 48.5% is just the people that's blue. They're gonna vote Democrat. No, they voted for Jesse Jackson. They voted for Bill Clinton. These are the same black people that said Bill Clinton was the first black president, even though Bill Clinton was the worst thing that's ever happened to black people. That's number one. From Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae to the crime bill, Bill Clinton was worse to black people. He's running neck and neck with Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Let's just be real. So Hillary Clinton losing the election, when I'm gonna show you how bad it was. Hoyt and I were watching it, and I remember thinking that as soon as Virginia polls closed, this should be a few seconds. Tim Kaine had won every political position in the state of Virginia, had never lost anything.
I was a Virginia resident in 2016.
Okay, he never lost. And when Virginia polls closed and they didn't call it, and I was like, wait a minute, something is wrong. And they still hadn't called it. And Wolf Blitzer said, this is odd because we haven't even called Virginia yet. And then we started hearing about Florida. I said, I can't believe this. This dude is going to win, because you had two things going for Trump. Trump energized a bunch of white people that felt like they weren't being heard. But you had dumb people on the other side saying, oh, he can't win. They had all these projections of Hillary winning. They're like, oh, he can't win. He can't. So they didn't vote. So that voting block showed up for Joe Biden, because they were like, we can't take that chance again, saying he can't win. That's what really happened. Now, you're saying it's going to energize the base. There's no doubt about that. These same people energized by January 6th. They're going to come out. They're going to be mad and everything. My question to you is, do you believe that this arrest, whether it's misdemeanor and becomes a felony, or whether it's arrest, not guilty, do you believe that this is going to move the Republicans that were turned off by January 6th, the Republicans that were offended by January 6th, and the independents that said we don't want anything to do with anybody who will have anything to do with January 6th? Because that's the only way he can get to the White House. For an incumbent to lose the way he did to Joe Biden, I cannot believe a nominee would do better. He was the incumbent. He had all of the Republicans. Now he doesn't even have that. Right. No way he wins in 2024, and no way do the Democrats pull this out. This is I don't know if you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! This is a trap card. This is listen to me.
I think
This
it's a
is
trap card.
listen.
I just think
This
it's a trap from the other side.
this is me playing Dark Magician in defense mode and ending my turn. Now
Right.
you're looking at that is what this is. I promise this
Well,
is going to end bad.
That's always one of been that's always been one of my biggest concerns is that in in 2020 the numbers that Trump polled were not able to carry the electorate.
Facts.
And I don't think, I mean, even when you take into consideration
Why though?
even when you take into consideration the new voters, the new 18-year-olds and what have you that have spawned up between 2020 and 2024, I don't think Trump gained anybody after January 6th. I think he lost a lot of people because
A lot.
Yeah,
I know a lot of Gregory. You're not my only Republican conservative friend. I'm telling you, I know a lot of Republicans that were really mad about that January 16th that are not going to support Donald Trump.
Exactly, and
most of them are realizing it's a lie now.
No,
It's a lie.
I don't want to assert that most of them think it's a lie, because a lot of people they're tuned out. A lot of people aren't paying attention to new reports or ardently watching Fox News or ardently watching CNN or any of that sort of stuff. I worry that the math isn't going to behoove Trump in the long run. I mean, who knows? There could be some event like, as Grifty mentioned earlier, maybe Trump gets arrested, processed, all that crap, gets out, and maybe he says some fucking super inspirational shit.
No, he's gonna start
defecate their pants. I don't know.
He's gonna start with witch hunt. He's gonna go from witch hunt to this is the dossier all over again. He's gonna do all of the he's gonna check all the MAGA boxes, and what is going to happen is the Republicans that sat through that and listened in the first place before January 6th, they are not coming back, bro. I'm telling you, he was the incumbent and had all of the Republicans. You cannot tell me that his I don't go by the approval ratings and all the polls, but I'm talking about the people that I've talked to, the actual voters that I speak with. And I am telling you, there are a lot of Republicans that are not coming back behind January 6th, period.
So let me do this. We've been, I know Grifty's been on for like the past half hour, but it's been going on for about an hour and a half. So let me give each and everybody their final thoughts. Grifty going first. Grifty, what are your final thoughts on the matter of the allegedly looming Trump indictment?
I think that I think you're right. I think it's a trap card, but I think it's a trap card from the other side. I think the reason it's going to help Trump is because the one thing Trump is missing in 2024 that he was missing in 2020 that he had in 2016 was being the underdog, was being the outsider. In 2016, he was the outsider fighting against the system. In 2020, he couldn't do that. He had been president for 4 years. You lose that card when you are the boss. He just gained that card back the minute they put his fingerprints on paper. He is now fighting against the system again. And that speaks to a lot of people. It speaks to those same black voters that you were saying he picked up in 2016 because they didn't like Hillary. There's a lot of black voters that don't like criminal charges being used unfoundedly. And I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say, this is a bullshit charge. And I think that gains him a lot of support. I think it really does. Anybody who's ever had to fight the legal system on a charge they were innocent of knows what that feels like. And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have done that. And the mail-in voting laws that went into effect because of the pandemic, which I think inarguably all the other narratives around the election, the fucking bullshit like Sidney Powell shit and all that was the distraction. The issue in 2020 was the change of the rules, the change of the voting rules, the universal mail-in voting, the ballot drop boxes, and these things have consistently been ruled unconstitutional state by state over the last 3 years. They're not going to keep happening. They're not like.
Well,
Go ahead.
no, go.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I think this is going to be a good thing for him. I think it gives him that underdog back, and it gives him. I think it's going to light a fire under him, which the biggest complaint everybody's had since he made his announcement is he doesn't have that same energy. He doesn't have that same fight. I think you're going to see that fight now.
All right, Casey, let me get your final thoughts on the allegedly looming Trump indictment.
Okay, so I believe that of course he's going to be indicted, but like I said before, I believe it's a trap card because I believe there's more to come. Grifty said something that I think is very, very important, and we should not gloss over it. Grifty said that in 2016 he was seen as an outsider, and he was fighting against the system. The difference in 2024 is the system that he was with is also going to be the same system he'll be fighting. He will not just be fighting the Democrats, it will also be the Republicans, because there's a lot of Republicans, like I said, that do not have a scenario where 45 is at the convention and he walks across stage and shakes DeSantis' hands and says, go get Biden. He's never going to do that, and they know it. So he's going to split the vote even more.
But he fought them in 2016 too. There were 16
No. They caved. They caved. He told.
And we're just doing the final thoughts. I know.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Giving people the final thoughts, my brother in Christ.
Okay, so let me say this. I believe that he's going to be indicted. I believe he's going to get arrested, but I don't believe that these are the last of the charges. I don't believe for 1 second that he will be the next president, but I do believe that the system that Grifty is saying that he's fighting, I believe this time will be the time that they defeat him.
So this may turn off some people, with regard to my thoughts about the allegedly looming Trump indictment. Yes, I do think, at the very least, a misdemeanor indictment is coming. There are just too many ways and too many things that we don't know about for me to accurately project or predict or say with any degree of confidence of what is the next thing to come insofar as potential Trump indictments. I can say with a degree of confidence that they're going to hit him with a misdemeanor. I don't want to affirmatively put my foot down and say, and a felony is coming next. Because if I were to say that, I would want to be able to say, and this is what the felony is going to be. And the fact is, the ones that are being discussed right now, I look at those, I look at the I look at the laws, I look at the chain of events, and I'm like, okay, those two potential felonies, I don't see them yet. Maybe they know something I don't, but who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if either the Manhattan DA or another state drums up some kind of charge, because I know they're really working overtime in Georgia. I can say that much. You got some folks putting in overtime in Georgia, trying to find something about the weird phone call.
Bribery.
Georgia's different than New York. New York, they're going to convict. If they get him in front of a New York jury, they're going to convict.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot get that same jury in Georgia.
Yeah. But, I'm just saying, like, I think they are trying to cook up something in Georgia. Whether or not they find something, whether they find an offense that they can hit him with, it's neither here nor there. I do feel confident saying, like, yeah, he's probably going to get hit with these charges in Manhattan. And it's whatever. It is going to be a dog and pony show at the very least. He'll be trotted in, trotted out. And this is where I think I'm going to upset some conservatives or maybe some of my viewers. I don't see Trump being president in 2024.
Ever again. You can say it. It's over.
And the reason why is there's just too many things stacked against it. Now, once again, these are my final thoughts. Anybody in the comment section, you can yell at me. Feel free. But I'm just trying to see I'm trying to read the writing on the wall that I personally see. And once again, you are talking to a far right individual. Oh, all right. I mean, you know, I would like ostensibly, you know, would prefer a Trump presidency over the current administration. Me personally, I would like to see that.
Terrible.
I know, Casey. Um,
Your final thoughts.
they're my final thoughts, you know.
Facts.
But you know, it's I just have to read the room. And the room right now is the United States. It's not me, it's not Grifty, it's not Casey. We are sharing the room with a lot of people with a lot of diverse opinions, and the vast majority of people are easily led in a myriad of directions. And we cannot ignore the fact that for the past 7 or so years, a vast majority of Americans have been fed a steady supply of orange man bad, whether the narrative was authentic or inauthentic. The narrative has been a steady supply of orange man bad. And that is what I'm going to leave it on. Grifty, Casey, thank you so much for
Appreciate you guys, man.
Thanks for having me on. And Casey, it was nice meeting you, man.
Nice meeting you too, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Great conversation for real. This is what I live for. You know,
absolutely.
We're
gonna go ahead and take on what is that shit that they have, the 5 on Fox or some shit like that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Gotta get 2 others.
Yeah.
No, what you got to do for is that old school Crossfire vibe.
Yeah.
Casey, come on, man. Get the glasses on, Casey.
Oh, he locked up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, locked up. They won't let him out.
So, no, but hey, look, Greg, I love coming on. I appreciate you having me on. It was great chat. Casey, you're froze, but again, it was nice meeting you. I hope we can do this again sometime and maybe come back in a couple months and reevaluate whose final thoughts look like they're the ones coming true.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. In a few months' time, man, we're gonna find out whose final thoughts reign. Good God, Casey, I hope your wife takes you out of the freezer.
That's a good pause face, though. Like, so all right, Greg. Yeah. All right, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I see you've been going almost 2 hours, so you're probably ready to wrap this up. So
yeah, no, I'm gonna go ahead and take an edible, man.
There you go.
You know, sorry,
you're supposed to
guys.
do that before stream. That's how the time just keeps on ticking, buddy.
Oh God, if I took it before stream, I would not make any freaking sense.
There you go. All right, man. Well, hey, have a good one. I have some real quick. I don't know if a lot of times when people start saying goodbye,
your social, man. If you got your social,
yeah.
plug it.
But check out my YouTube at Grifty. Check me out on Twitter at Grifty IRL. Got some big plans coming forward. I'm gonna go ahead and announce it here right now. The next series of live streams I'm gonna do, it's gonna be 10 parts. We're gonna be going chapter by chapter over the Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, which is the playbook the left has been operating under since Kennedy's head went splat. So
hey, man, if you ever want a guest on there, man, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm looking to have some people on here. I was gonna reach out to you. I definitely want to get you on for one of these chapters. We're gonna read each chapter and put our thoughts and comments and 2 cents in, and that's what we're gonna do each live stream. So stay tuned, check it out. Got some some guests, some guests you really know. I got some big things in the works. So let's keep an eye out, and it's gonna be good. So hey, and real quick, shout out to Daniel. Dude is diehard supporter, all the love in the world. Thanks for coming in, man. It takes people coming into these new creator live streams, interacting with the chat, smashing the like button. That's how you get that algo heat, So I appreciate everyone who dropped in.
Yeah,
So,
no.
and-
So do I, because it's my channel, man. Thank you guys so much. Vagabond Life, Daniel, Grifty. Who else deserves a shout out? Let's see. What do we got? Pyramid 7. Yeah, that's it. but thank you guys so much. And I'm gonna keep the live streams going, man. We're gonna get
There you
more
go.
talks,
They're a
more
lot of fun.
conversations.
They're a
Yeah.
lot of fun, man. They're a lot of fun. So, all right,
Yeah.
man.
All right, you guys
Peace,
take care. Peace.